Hi, welcome back to my channel, Journeying with Joseph. Today I wanted to talk about something more chill. This is the second video I've tried to record. The first one I didn't do any work on, and you could tell I didn't really care. I've been kind of sick this week, but I have let this project slide by the wayside. I want to be uploading on Wednesdays. It is now Saturday, so I'm going to do better. I'm going to try to do better. So today I'd like to talk about journaling, how it's helped me, all this kind of stuff. So let's jump right into it. Before we get started, I wanted to point out my new backdrop. Quite proud of it. Found that at a reclamation center, so it was free, and I love it. He's my favorite pope, one of my favorite saints. May he pray for us, Saint John Paul II. So yeah, I'm just experimenting with a new backdrop, you could say. I still have got the desert going here. So all right. So I have journaled for years. I've got tons of filled up, partially filled up, and sporadically filled in journals lying around the place. I used to only know how to really do the sort of vomit method, where you just write down a bunch of stuff and then it's like, okay, I've done that. Now what? And so I found journaling to be quite dissatisfying because of that. I didn't know how to make it actionable. I didn't know kind of what to do after just spitting something out onto the page. So it was pretty chaotic and, like I said, dissatisfying. So when I found my system that I use now, everything kind of changed. I learned how to organize my thoughts, make things in here actionable, and yeah, I obsess about it and talk about it with friends all the time. So I'm gonna talk about some of the elements I use to keep my journals organized, some of the things I talk about, that kind of stuff. A bunch of YouTube channels helped me, such as Park Notes and others that really focus on journaling. I just put how to journal well into the search bar and everything. So I had, up to that point, like I said, I had tried journaling. I had also tried journaling digitally, and yeah, nothing really stuck. So I use my journaling for basically everything. I have a list here. I use it to work out problems, to organize thoughts, and to organize my day, really to organize my weeks and months as well. I use it to budget. And that I'm still experimenting with. I just learned about this technique called Kakaibo, which is kind of it started in Japan. It's a Japanese way to like journal through your budget, be more mindful about spending, which I need help with. So I do that. I work through deep ideas, personal issues. I contemplate spiritual ideas or experiences that happen to me. I write down quotes or ideas from others. I practice the recall method after reading sessions and whatever, which is basically a way of just not forgetting what you read immediately. You just, with no pressure, you just pull out your journal and write for maybe 5 minutes about all the things that you just read and stuff like that. Everything you can remember. If you don't remember something, that's okay. So I do that. I organize my vomit sessions, so I still have periods where I'll just sit down and write about whatever. It's very helpful and important to me, but I will organize them in certain ways, which I'll get to. So this sort of lifestyle of living by the journal has really helped me to become a less stressed person, a less anxious person. It's helped me to not have to relearn spiritual or life lessons over and over, because they just kind of melt into my subconscious by my not particularly remembering all the facts over time or whatever. I can put it in here. I can look back on it at any time, and it's organized so I can find it easily. It's been quite wonderful. One more thing that I do with my journal that I didn't really write down is work on my artistic projects, whether that's songwriting or, more commonly, working on my stories, my movie. In fact, I have a second journal just to journal about my movie. I've experimented with multiple journal systems, with the journal system of using multiple notebooks. I've experimented with that, and I don't quite like it as just having one daily driver that's linear but well organized. So this is kind of new to me to have a second one here. So yeah, it's fantastic. So here are some of the elements that I use to organize my journal. They've been indispensable in changing the way I approach this whole thing, and I'm going to try to put up some pictures demonstrating what I'm talking about. So the first one is a journal title. So the journal I'm holding has the title Gravity. The journal before this is in my backpack there, and it had the title Dahlia. That way, if I see an old entry in one of my journals, I can refer to it in my current journal saying, today I saw on page 70 of Dahlia this experience, and here are some extra thoughts on it, and it'll be super easy to find. The second thing is page numbers. Some journals come with page numbers, most don't. So I'll fill in the page numbers in the bottom corners just to keep everything organized. And it really is also good to help me track how many pages I'll write in a month, how many pages a certain journal might have, so I know whether or not I really want to spend the money on that specific brand again in the future. Now, I will say a lot of people have one singular journal that they love and they'll keep buying and they'll make it their brand that they stick to, and I'll probably end up doing that myself. I really like this brand. It's Pen & Gear Dotted Journal. It's got it's hardbound. It says simulated leather. It's got about 240 pages in it, so I bought one on clearance at Walmart one time, just out of the blue, not looking for anything specific. I opened it up and I was like, oh dang, that's dot grid, which I love, and I know I love. And it's got a lot of room in the margins for me to add some extra information. So this is really the first time I've intentionally purchased a second of the same brand and style. So this is the one I might end up with, but I also have been gifted plenty of journals over the years, and so I've got a ton of different kinds. So right now I'm in a journal that was apparently made in Italy. I don't really know the brand. I think I accidentally covered it up. So anyway, it's nice, leather bound kind of thing, lined and everything. So it depends on what style you want, what style works best for you, and so on and so forth. So another element that really helps me is the subject line. So at the bottom of each page or by the entry itself, I will write a subject line. This is what I was talking about. And that's really the best method for me for keeping things organized. So once I do that, I'll compile them, like at the end of the month, into a sort of table of contents. And that way I can see on this page, I wrote about this subject, and then I can just see right in front of me all the times I talked about this subject or that subject or religion or an experience I had with my friends or something. So yeah, that's great. Another thing I really like is these monthly cover pages. I started experimenting with monthly cover pages. They looked like this. They were kind of disorganized, kind of trying to figure out how I wanted to do it. And over time, it's kind of evolved into something more like this. Now, I say that assuming I got the pictures up. We'll see. But this has been really helpful, a great way to give myself clear goals for the month and sort of go from there. So those have been good. Something else are the quotes or tab pages. I haven't done a whole lot of this lately. This is kind of free-flowing. I used to have about 4 or 5 lines partitioned off at the bottom of each page for quotes from other people, other books, videos even, stuff that I like and that I wanted to remember. I don't do that so often now. Sometimes I'll just reserve a whole page here and there for quotes that I like. I'm trying to figure out how to do this in a more organized fashion. Maybe the last 10 pages of each journal I'll fill out with quotes I like, you know? So this isn't just about generating my own thoughts or reacting to other thoughts. It's about recording other thoughts wholesale while crediting them to the right person, of course, and learning from them, trying to ingest them over a long period of time. So yeah. Next is quick notes and bullet point pages. This is something newer that I've experimented with. It kind of started as me trying to get away from my phone a little bit in terms of note taking. So I just jot down a quick line in the bullet point page, and either it's fulfilled in itself or it's a reminder for me to sit down and do a longer journal entry on the subject in question. So it's been really helpful. I still do use my phone. I'll talk about that in a second. But even so, it's a nice thing to refer back to and see, okay, what are some projects that I would like to look at? What are some ideas that I would like to write down? What are some quick ideas that I need to go pick up this grocery from the store? You know, it can be anything, sort of my junk drawer. Finally, and this has been one of the most helpful elements, I don't remember where I picked it up, but I added this thing called a summation or summary point. So after each journal entry, and sometimes I forget to do this, but the goal is that after each journal entry, I'll add a little like summary of what I just talked about. That way, if I'm, turning through pretty quickly, even though it's got a subject line, maybe I need a little more information on what I'm talking about here, and I can save myself a ton of time by skipping the need to read the whole journal entry and just reading this 1 or 2 sentence summary of what I just wrote about in it, and then moving on if it's not the right thing, right? So, or even just reflecting on that summary. So that's been really helpful. Okay, so I wouldn't go as far as to say that any of these ideas are my own. Like I said, I scoured YouTube and the internet to create a system that worked really well for me. I've certainly personalized them. I've made them my own, but I've gathered them from here and there and who knows where. So it's been fantastic, and I suggest that anyone out there who's looking into journaling, try some of these elements, make it your own. Sometimes you can pull one element out and like this one helps, and then you hear about another element and you're like, that's not helpful at all. This sort of self-personalization of the organization of your life is very important, and sometimes it can be overwhelming because when you're handed a blank sheet of paper, it can get as granular as you want, as customizable as you want, without certain limits or clarifications, and that can just be debilitating. And that's where I was for a long time. So this has really helped me. This has advanced my spiritual life a lot. Like I said, learning lessons that I don't forget, going back and encouraging myself. I have a regular subject line that I use for all sorts of journal entries called Grace Remembered. And when I write down an experience that happened to me in prayer, an inspiration, a lesson learned that was clearly from the good Lord, then I'll write it down as Grace Remembered. Now I can flip through my journals and look at all the times I've had a Grace Remembered. And I chose that phrase because it comes from the old saying, a grace remembered is a grace renewed. And I want these graces to continually be renewed, right? So remembering them has been really important. The other thing is that my system is still evolving. I still look to tweak and to add new useful elements and to subtract unuseful elements and so on. So this is not its final form. I'm going to keep experimenting, and over time it's just going to get more and more refined until it's perfect for me and helps me, even more. So that's great. Lately, I've been experimenting with digital integration. Here's a quick picture of my Notion, which is the note-taking app I use and prefer. I really kind of prefer Apple Notes, but I switched back to Android phone, so Notion is best for that. And Notion is more organizable, so at the end of the day, I think it'll serve me better. As long as it's super aesthetic, I'm okay with it, So this is really great. And yeah, that's kind of the whole thing. I'd love to hear if this helped you. What's your experience in journaling? Have you done much of it yourselves, or do you want to get into it? So just let me know. I've gotten a couple friends into journaling at this point because of my passion for it and all these elements I've worked to tune. So I'm kind of proud of that, It's cool to share in camaraderie and brotherhood our journaling journeys. So yeah, well, this wasn't super spiritual, but it kind of is the framework for a more spiritual life, a more contemplative life. So it's really helped me. Thank you to Park Notes. Thank you to 10 other channels whose names I can't remember, for helping me come up with my own system. So yeah. All right, that's the video. God bless you. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'm going to try to get next week's video up earlier. All right, God bless.